Hey everyone, if you want to make your own podcast but you don't know where to begin, Spotify for Podcasters makes it super easy. They've got everything in one place, it's totally free, and you can make money while doing it. Here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so no matter what your setup is like, you can start doing it today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and pretty much everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also supported, and you can even conduct polls and Q&As. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, the platform is totally free. No catch, totally free. When I wanted to start my own podcast, I did not know where to begin, and I didn't think it was even possible. And Spotify for Podcasters made it happen. They made it easy, they made it quick, and I am doing something that I love. What more can I ask for? So if you're interested in starting your own show, you can do it, and I highly recommend you give this a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Everything Kratom, the podcast about anything and everything Kratom. Great to have you with us on this Wednesday morning. Hoping all's well with you out there today. I got a voice message from a new listener recently. This is Paul R. from California, and he brought up some information about how he uses Kratom tea and, kind of like the way that he takes it. And he wanted to hear some talk about tea. And I am all about tea. I love tea. And I do use Kratom tea. So I wanted to talk about that as well. But first off, definitely want to play Paul's message and also to thank him for supporting this podcast and for sending in this voice message. So thank you so much to you, Paul. And here's his message.
Hi, everyone. This is Paul R. in Sonoma County, California. New listener to Everything Kratom, or Kratom as a lot of Americans say. Loving it. Going back through the old episodes, trying to get caught up. And one item I haven't heard much about is drinking the tea. And that's what I do mainly is I just use it for a little energy boost or, help pick up my mood a little bit. So what I do is I take about 16 ounces of water, boil it, put it in a pan with 2.5 grams of the kratom powder. And per Professor McCurdy in Florida, you got to have a little acid to release all the constituents. So either a half a lemon, which tend to be a little hard on my stomach, so I prefer actually a 1/4 teaspoon of citric acid. As a pharmacist, I like those kinds of things. And just let it sit for 10 minutes, run it through a coffee filter, and voila. Love it. Keep up the good work, and I look forward to hearing more.
Thank you so much, Paul, for sending in this message, for getting your input. It's really great, and I really do love getting messages from people who listen in. And when I have permission, I definitely love to share it. So thanks so much for that, and thank you for bringing up a topic that definitely needs discussion. I think that I've talked about tea maybe only once before, and it certainly wasn't really a dive into it. And I think that tea is life for me. And I'm talking tea generally first here. I pretty much every time that I take Kratom, I almost always am drinking tea alongside it. This isn't even getting into Kratom tea yet, but I love tea. I love green tea and black tea. I have different types of green teas. Black tea, I don't have as many types. I'm just kind of like straightforward, just black tea. But I really enjoy teas. I think that there's a lot going on in there, in addition to whatever it is, like caffeine, for instance. I don't really drink tea for caffeine, but I get a really wonderful sense of well-being from it. And from the best that I can tell, I think it's from the theanine. And I really, really enjoy the effects of theanine. So I get a lot of that from green tea. I know that there's some in black tea. And I don't know, overall, tea is just wonderful. So totally appreciate tea. And I also love combining tea with Kratom. When I take Kratom, I usually have the tea because of that combination, because I think that the theanine really syncs amazingly well with Kratom, in my opinion, and in my case. And so usually when I'm even doing these episodes, I'm drinking tea. Now, with all that said, Kratom tea. and I kind of named the episode in a James Bond way in case people didn't realize it. It's supposed to be, when you read the episode title, just put James Bond music in the background and think, tea. Kratom tea. Do 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 do. Okay, there's my corniness. So here we go. I used to use kratom tea as the primary way that I would take kratom. Now it's one of two primary ways. I actually am pretty down with the whole toss and wash thing, and I do that quite a bit. I do capsules sometimes, but mainly just when I'm traveling. For those of you who listen often, you would know that probably by now. But I do really enjoy kratom tea, and it is one of the two most effective ways that I find kratom works for me. So other than just the straight up toss and wash, or maybe the occasional, capsule when I'm traveling or in a rush, I really love kratom tea. However, I've never gone through all the steps that Paul mentioned here, or that, honestly, I think that what he mentioned is very much common from what I've seen online. I've seen a lot of people online talking about adding some sort of citric acid or orange juice or some sort of thing like that, or lemon, lime, some sort of thing like that to really draw out the effects of the kratom. And of course, being the pharmacy guy, Paul would know more about how that works than I do. However, I've heard plenty of that. I've certainly tried it before, and I think that it works great. But for me, for some reason, I find that it's really just for me personally, taking the water that's really hot, putting kratom in a cup. And I'm probably at the same exact level that Paul mentioned. I usually, my serving size is like 2.5 grams in this instance. And I really enjoy doing this more than anything else in the world. I love doing this with green and white Thai. Green and white Thai kratom. And oftentimes the combination, green and white Thai kratom together, is just stellar for me when I just take it, put it in a cup, and mix it up with some hot water. And I don't actually end up filtering it out, although I don't have the sludge at the bottom. But I could probably get more effects out of it if I did the actual legit work and process of simmering it, letting it sit, adding the citric acid or adding some sort of agent that's going to bring that out, and then filtering the kratom out through a coffee filter or something like that. Makes perfect sense to me. I have done parts or all of that process in some way at some point, but I think that I get so much of an effect and benefit from kratom just by pouring the hot water on it, swishing it around, stirring it constantly for 5 to 10 minutes, or stirring occasionally rather, and then just drinking the water down until I hit the bottom almost. And once in a while, I think in the past at least, I've taken the last part with all the kratom sludge and stuff, but it was a lot harder for me to do that than it was for toss and wash. So I don't tend to do that anymore. But maybe I'm wasting a little bit of kratom. I don't want to waste it. And if I'm going to get more bang for my buck and also not waste as much by maybe being more intentional about the tea, then I should definitely think about that. This is giving me something to think about. But as it is, usually I'll take something like green or white Thai, throw it in the bottom, pour hot water on it, swish it around or stir it occasionally for 10 minutes, and then just drink the tea down. And what I've been finding in my experience is that toss and wash for me hits quickly, and it's really effective, giving me an energy boost, and it lasts 4 to 6 hours. When I do the tea version, I sip on the tea over the course of 10 to 15 minutes, and the effects slowly build and then continue to build, and then the last few sips, it's almost like they're a little bit more concentrated down there, and they just kind of push it into gear, and it's then I'm just gliding, and it is so wonderful. It's relaxing. I find that kratom tea is more relaxing and more energetic than doing a toss and wash. And so I oftentimes find myself thinking, I should just be doing I should be making tea right now. Why am I doing a toss and wash right now? And it really is the case. I end up having these much more long, drawn out experiences with kratom that end up being a lot more effective. And I think I get even a little bit more euphoria out of it that way, which again, I always mention, I'm not trying to seek that. But having said that, I think it is the case in my opinion, or at least in my case, that I get a lot more euphoria when I drink tea. It's like waves. It's like overlapping waves of euphoria. And it really is a wonderful, wonderful experience. I find it's very relaxing, but again, uplifting. And somehow, as Kratom does, because it's kind of magical, uplifting and energetic at the same time as being relaxing. And I think that my favorite time to drink Kratom tea is when I'm reading a book, or when I'm doing like some sort of like task or even some fun thing. Like it could, I don't know, maybe not even like a puzzle, but like, doing a crossword or Sudoku, something like that. Some sort of task that's just like a hobby, or some sort of small task that's like around the house and it's kind of not that important. Oh, that is just the bee's knees for me. It might sound kind of lame, but like that's when I'm in my happy place. Sipping Kratom tea and just doing like hours and hours of something that's really not like changing the world or like super, super necessary on like a rainy Sunday afternoon. Yes, please. So all this in saying, like, maybe I'm a little bit lame, but that is my perfect happy place, and tea is what does it. I probably need to try something different though. I think that I should really try to switch it up, maybe try different types as teas, because I'm sure that the effects would be different drinking it as a tea versus taking it as toss and wash. Like usually when I'm doing the green and white Thai, I'll do it that way. So maybe I should be trying others that have become staples for me. For instance, green Mang Da, or maybe like my white Indo, taking that as a tea. I know that once I did that and it didn't seem to give me the effects that I wanted, but I think at the same time I was on a Zoom call with like work colleagues and it just wasn't like, I was kind of like stressed out about something else, and I probably wasn't paying much attention to how the effects differed from like toss and wash. So I'm going to have to try tea with others, and also I'm going to have to try to maybe make it more efficient. Maybe I should be doing the whole process that Paul mentioned, and maybe in that way I'll be using less and getting more. And I think I've done 2 episodes now called Less is More. So maybe that'll be the 3rd. Yes, please, people, send in some thoughts and comments. Let me know what you think about tea. Let Paul know what you think about tea and how your methods differ from his, and what kind of luck do you have with it. I'd love to hear. I'm sure he would. And write in or send a voice message. There's a link in the description, and you can always write into everythingkratom@gmail.com. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your day. We will be back tomorrow. Bye-bye.